From Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, this is Rafs Tales from MohawkAd, a podcast to the students at Mohawk College, specifically our advertising students. Here we will interview alumni and faculty to give inspiration and the day-to-day life of alumni in the industry. Today we have class of 2012, Darren Marranca. He is now a Senior Copywriter at Fuse Creative, and today he'll give his whole set on how he became from 2012 to 2021. So without any more delays, Darren Marranca. Welcome to Rafs Tales from MohawkAd. We're returning from the second half of the first season, and I have a pleasure today to have alumni from the class of 2012. Is that correct?
Yeah, 2012.
2012. And we'll have Darren Marranca, Senior Copywriter. Right now he's at Fuse. But we're talking about his career and everything that happened and his work and advice to current students at the college. So welcome, Darren.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So let's go back to that time. I remember that time, 2012, was you and Adam and all the gang there. How was that time in third year when you're about to leave the college? Can you tell me about that feeling of the college years are over and I need to make this happen?
Yeah, it was bittersweet, I think, because after 3 years you develop some really good friendships, and you just kind of get into a really nice routine. I think with everyone, with people you're working with building up your book, working with the teachers and stuff like that. And then you kind of get, you get thrown into the advertising industry by looking for an internship. So it was bittersweet because you're excited to start your career and go off, but you also are kind of like, well, like I really like, hanging out with everyone in school because it was pretty fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. I had gone to university before, and I'd also done another college course in cabinet making, and this
interesting.
And this time around when I did advertising, it was like, something clicked, it was like, wow, this is kind of like, this is what, I really wish the other two school experiences were, so it was a lot of fun. College was awesome.
And at what stage you decide like, oh, I like to write and I think this is what I'm excelling to, or it was like a different process until you realize that that's your forte?
So I think, so for anyone listening, I think Mohawk is still this way, but I could be wrong. Where it's a 3-year program. The first year you kind of learn a bit about everything.
It's still the same. It's still the same thing.
It's still the same. Okay, that's great. So you learn a little bit of everything in the first year. Creative, what account strategy do, that sort of thing, and then you have to, pick whether you want to go business or creative. And I kind of wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And then, talking with you and Jeff at the time, you were like, well, no, like you really have a creative kind of mind. I think you should go creative. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I really do like doing all the photography and Photoshop and coming up with ideas and all that sort of stuff. So second year was cool
because this is what I remember. Remember you at first wanted to be an art director.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is in second year I was still doing like art direction and writing, and I think starting the third year, I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to like do art direction. I like playing around with layouts and Photoshop and type and kind of like manipulating photos and all that sort of stuff. I have like a clear vision of how things want to go. And then I think late in the first semester, I talked to Jeff and we kind of just talked about it and ended up coming to the realization that, I'd probably be not a better writer, but just like I had maybe a bit more fun with it. And so I ended up through the rest of the year tailoring my portfolio to make sure it was more writer heavy, even though I had pieces in my book that were both art directed by myself and written by myself too. And it's funny, even today, I still like doing a lot of like art direction and design and, photoshopping stuff, with the art directors that I've worked with and, and helping with image searches or, that sort of thing. So, all that stuff I learned at Mohawk, well, it doesn't necessarily, art direction doesn't necessarily relate to writing. It kind of does in the end, because it helps inform, just the overall project itself. So it's cool. I still get to do art direction and that sort of thing, even though I am by trade a writer.
But at least made you a better partner with our art director because you know how to have a conversation, more in-depth conversation about it, and
Yep.
have more direction on it.
Yep, and that's the thing too is I'm a pretty big movie buff, and the DOPs that shoot movies and how they're shot and why they're doing certain framing. I love all that kind of stuff, and I think that translates into the advertising that I end up making. So it's it all kind of works out. Like I really like drawing up a layout in a notebook or just mocking up something quickly to get an idea across. And I'm sure, if there are writers out there who don't do it, I'm sure they probably could be doing that. And, it just helps the creative process for you and your partner along even more so. Right.
But it's good for the students too, because they think, oh, I want to be a copywriter or never touch a design again. Just give me something to write or something like that. So it's good to them to hear that kind of stuff because
I think in advertising you definitely have to wear both hats, and if you want to become an ACD or a CD or an ECD one day, and you're the only say ECD in the department, you have to have a very strong art direction background as well as a copywriting background, even if you were a copywriter by trade for the last 15 years of your career.
Let's go through this then. Then you're excited on third year, and thank you for the advice, by the way. That is great stuff.
Cool.
We could stay here a long time talking about composition of movies and colors and that kind of B cuts and cutaways and everything, but B rolls but that's get to that to another podcast.
That's a 3-hour podcast altogether at another time.
Most definitely. So you start. How I see here that you did internship for I think the 7 weeks on Full House Enterprises. So it was a client side. How was that thing?
Yeah, so that was an interesting opportunity. I had been, I think, applying to certain agencies and that sort of thing, and someone came in. It was when someone from the industry came in to talk to our class, and they had mentioned something about Jeffrey Roche, who owned Low Roche at the time, who had started up his own thing and had been looking for an intern. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Like, they're looking for one person, and to get to be able to work under Jeffrey Roche, regardless if it's client side or agency side, I think would be a great learning opportunity. So sure enough, I ended up shooting him an email. He gave me a call and I got the internship. He liked what he saw in my book. So it was pretty cool. It was definitely like an interesting first internship. Had a lot of fun there.
But how it is to hear something like that and be proactive and say, that's an opportunity. I will get it into it right away and send the email and send the book.
Mm-hmm.
Where this whole go get mentality come through?
I think the go-getter mentality, I think that's something that you just have to have. And I mean, if you don't have that in advertising, maybe you shouldn't be in advertising. I think that later translates to you as a student or an intern, going to Toronto or wherever you want to go, but talking to as many kind of writers or copywriters or strategists or account people as possible to get so many different perspectives, and just setting up so many meetings so you can talk to a lot of different people. And now, I mean, with all of us kind of doing Zoom interviews with students or meetings or book reviews, it's actually like probably way more accessible and way easier for people to get a hold of, and I mean, that's me guessing, but for people to get a hold of other people for their time, simply because you don't have to trek all that way. If you are in Hamilton or in Oshawa or wherever you are, all the way to Toronto, and take the GO train or drive and find parking and meet someone and try to set up 2 or 3 meetings a day so that, your
Optimize the time.
Yeah, exactly. So your trip wasn't, wasted. And, I just think it might be even more accessible right now for students to kind of reach out to people and be able to chat with them for 15 minutes or half hour on a Zoom meeting, as opposed to, again, like going into actual work, which is kind of cool.
Wow, that then went directly to Gray. That Gray was my first agency in Canada too, Gray Toronto.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and how was that transition to Gray?
It was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Pool House with Jeffrey Roche was a bit more client side, and then when I went to Gray, it was definitely like, okay, like advertising. This is cool. Like I'm getting thrown onto like Salvation Army, doing stuff for like Shreddies. I forget what else I had worked on.
I see here, Government of Ontario, Canada Breast Cancer, Playtex, great game.
Yeah, yeah. Some of those were just like little Facebook ads, but some of those were like a pretty big clients. Like Salvation Army was really, really cool to work on and kind of sink my teeth into right off the hop, which was great. Like, I've heard of some internships from people where they don't really get kind of a good opportunity to work on things. But, when I went to Gray, I definitely got a lot of really good opportunity. And I just tried to soak up everything, like, as a sponge.
I can't imagine that. Sure.
And just try to learn and, try to put in the work and always come up with kind of the most creative and interesting kind of ideas. So it was good. I really got a really nice book piece out of some work for the Salvation Army when I was at Gray. So it was cool.
Well, before going from intern at Gray as a junior copywriter in Ocean, I wanted you to tell me what things you're seeing now in the past that you say, oh my God, I should have done that when I was an intern, or something that you can recommend to students, like, don't forget to do this and this and this. I feel like I do a bullet point advice on a few topics that I think are important.
Yeah, I think when I was an intern, I think I did. I think I did a lot of stuff I would probably tell students to do, like always ask for more work or what projects you could be helping out on, because you'll get assigned, and that even goes for today, like in my career, where, you'll get assigned certain projects and certain briefs, and they'll be great to work on. But then, if you notice, the agency has other clients that you're not necessarily touching, is in your free time, is there something you can do for that client that you just proactively come up with to show your creative director? Because, no one's ever going to tell you like, hey, you're doing too much good work. You're thinking you're thinking about things too creatively, or they're always gonna be like, oh man, like he or she was coming up with ideas like on her own. That shows like a really nice proactive kind of person that, that's the type of person we could use here. So I think like working on stuff kind of outside of the briefs you're getting, the briefs you've gotten, is always a really good thing to do.
So just ask the creative director or the ACD, like, do you have something that you need help or
yeah,
stuff? And
I definitely like would go and ask like, hey, do these guys need help on projects? Are there any projects that you could use just to brainstorm for like an hour? And I definitely remember doing that at Gray, like here and there, working on just some random stuff to throw another mind into the mix and just see how the inner workings of a creative department work, which I think was really, really beneficial. But it's even too like, not necessarily asking, just seeing what clients that agency has, and then try to find just some really random kind of nice insights that work with that, those clients, and then, come up with a bunch of ideas and then go to your creative director, ACD or CD, and show them kind of what you've been working on in the meantime.
so let's take a look. What was your first campaign that you saw running? That you saw like, oh my God, it's published or it's on the web or it's like a billboard or out of home? How was your first piece that you were like, oh my God, I create this?
Yeah, I think for me, it wasn't necessarily like
or I wrote this or something like that.
Yeah. I think for me, it wasn't necessarily like a full campaign or anything. But when I was at InOcean, they had, which I think they still do have, but they had Kia, like Kia cars or Kia Motors, and I got to really do a lot of radio, which for a writer was like pretty awesome, being a junior and just getting every month getting thrown onto the radio spots for the retail portion of the Kia business. So you'd come up with radio campaigns or single spots, and it was always funny where, I'd be in a cab going from, here to there, or, to a party or a friend's house or whatever. And you're in the cab and you hear your radio spot come on that the driver is listening to X channel. And in the back of the seat, you're kind of like, oh, hey, I wrote that. And I remember doing that one time. And the cab driver was like, what do you mean you wrote it? I'm like, I came up with it in my brain. and I was like, we recorded it. And he was like, oh, that's so weird and cool. I was like, I know, I feel the same way. So that was like one of those moments was pretty cool. Just hearing for me, rather than hearing your work out there. And then like randomly talking to friends or family members or whatever, again, with like in that first year of writing radio, one of my friends, she was like, yeah, I heard this weird, like funny commercial. And she's like, I know you write commercials and stuff sometimes or for your job. And she's like, weird commercial. And it was this thing and blah, blah, blah. And it was just funny. I was like, I wrote that. I was like, I actually, like, no joke, that was for like a brand. I wrote that. She was like, no way. That's crazy. And again, that was like another experience that's like, it's just funny. It's like, it's a pretty unique thing to just have people in the world out there hearing random stuff that you've written or worked on, and talking to you about it without knowing that you did it.
How was that experience? How was the change from Gray to Notion when it comes to uh, the work environment? What I mean, what is the culture shift that you need to be aware of when you change from one agency to the other? What is the best way to deal with?
I think the culture shift. So what I've learned is every agency has an entirely different culture than the next. You're going to meet a lot of different people at a lot of different agencies, and they're all going to have a very different vibe. But I think if you're the type of person who just kind of is excited for kind of a new opportunity, you'll kind of get in there and get the vibe, and hopefully vibe off of their vibes. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, again, like every agency has a different kind of culture, and some agencies you work at, you'll find where just a little bit different or better culture wise than others. But as long as you're still kind of producing good work, and um, you're always kind of with people you like working with, then I think that's kind of what matters most.
So after that experience with Kia and in Ocean, you went to work at for almost 3 years at KBS, and how was that?
KBS was great. Yeah, it was working for Matt Hassel was just kind of fun all the time. However, it was fun doing a lot of really great work and working with a lot of great people. And also, there were so many different clients we got to work on when we were at KBS. There was World Vision, The Keg, Sleep Country Canada, Trojan, Skull Candy, BMO, just a lot of really big clients and really big brand names that just yourself, and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you get to work on those kinds of brands was really, really cool. So KBS was a great place to work. It was a great experience.
How was because at that time you probably had a lot of experience already under your belt. So how was that development, and what is the work that you remember the most from KBS that you participated in?
Um, I think the the development. I think, like, when we first got to KBS, it was kind of like anything where you're seeing kind of like what the culture is like, what the vibes like, and kind of just getting thrown onto to random kind of projects here and there, was really, really cool. And yeah, we had some experience. I had some experience, but I was also still learning a lot, and I did learn a lot in those 3-ish years from KBS. Some of the memorable things I worked on was for the Skull Candy business, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it was like a full time client or if it was a project base, but we ended up working on the pitch and actually like winning the pitch, which was pretty awesome. And then getting to do that work afterwards. So it was just really cool seeing, you know, my partner Adam and I at the time, with an ACD, I think we worked on it with, and obviously Hassel. We just worked on a lot of cool stuff for the pitch, and
Mm-hmm.
then some of the senior kind of members in the creative team went down and presented it. And then however many weeks later, we found out we won, and then getting to see that through and actually work on the campaign that kind of came out of that, afterwards, just kind of seeing that full circle process, was just a really, really unique experience that I hadn't really had before. So it was really cool.
That's a great experience and explicitly to have with your former college peer. How was that scene? How was that
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So yeah, I had Adam Tuck.
Yes.
Adam and I had worked on various projects throughout college. We've become really good friends. And then, when you're finding an internship, you kind of go your separate ways. And I think he was at Ogilvy at the time, and I believe he was on contract there. And his contract was kind of coming up, and I was at Inocean at that time, and we had an opening for an art director. And so I said to my boss, well, what about this guy, Adam, who I used to work in college with? He's a really great guy. So he met my boss, Gerald, at Inocean. And then for the next like 6 or 7 years, we kind of jumped from to different agencies
Wow.
with each other, which was, really cool. It's great to work with someone who, you're friends with, first off, but then also too, like they're your work partners. So I think you really get a lot of, it's kind of like a no BS kind of working relationship, which I think is really key. So it was great.
And it holds until today?
Sorry.
He is your partner until today? Is he your partner?
We I think in 2019 we broke up.
Okay.
We're still
your advertising partner.
Yeah. We still talk like all the time. We're still really good friends, but he in 2019 we both went separate ways just to try out different opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Talking about that, after 3 years, so I will definitely need to invite Adam to this too. He would be a guest here for sure.
Yeah, I think he'd have a great time.
How was then the change to Chill?
Chill was interesting. I think we had we'd been at KAS for almost 3 years, and just kind of wanted to change. And this opportunity came up at Chail, working on Samsung, working on BMO again, which was really nice, and a couple other different little things like Human Rights Watch and Yokohama Tires. It was a lot smaller of an agency, and I think we went into it just kind of thinking like, oh, like it's pretty cool where there's only 4 or 6 people in the creative department as opposed to 20 or that sort of thing. So
yes,
and it was also in the East End, which was super close to my house. Not that really mattered, but it was pretty cool, and we got to work on some really cool stuff there. One of the things being our Yokohama Tire campaign, which was just a really, really cool experience that we kind of had to, it was like a kind of lean and mean crew that kind of worked on it, where we made certain products out of performance tires, and also made 3 kind of mini documentaries that we shot here in Hamilton, and also in Tofino and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
How was that campaign? So you tried to do a documentary to get through the features of the tires, and
it was really cool. So the kind of campaign basis was for Yokohama's 100th anniversary. We wanted to do something kind of different to show off and showcase the performance tires. So we partnered with craftsmen, who we called tire tailors, and we made actual performance products out of the performance tires. So, for example, we made a surfboard out of the and the track pads on the surfboard. We worked with a surfboard shaper and an actual surfer to make the track pads out of the snow and ice tires, which are really good for grip. And then went to Tofino and got like the number 2 surfer in Canada or something to actually surf the surfboard we made, which was really awesome.
Wow.
We also did, we made a saddle out of the off-road tires, and we got like a rancher to actually ride a horse with his saddle and do a lot of bucking kind of stuff, just to show the durability and the off-roadness of the off-road tire.
So probably create a lot of buzz. The campaign created a lot of buzz and
Yeah,
media
it was.
exposure, right?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was definitely interesting. I think we got a silver in automotive in Canadian Marketing Awards. We got a bronze in the ADCC Awards. So it was really nice campaign. We did a lot of really nice kind of editorial print for the campaign, as well as like making the products and the kind of mini documentaries as well.
Maybe I think the last time the two of us bounced each other at a DCC.
Oh yeah.
I think it was probably 2018.
Yep.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I always make a point of like finding you and Jeff at the ADCC Awards. Like, where are those guys? I know they're here somewhere.
Yeah, we are too. We're running around looking for all of the best students. So it's always fun there.
Yeah.
Great organization in Toronto, in Canada. So love what they do for the industry and design industry, for the advertising industry.
Oh yeah.
So then went to the Zulu. How was our stuff for Zulu? I see here that you work on Tim Hortons, Bell, Subaru, Interact.
Yeah, Zulu was cool. It was definitely an interesting culture and vibe that kind of Zach and his team have, which was just really really nice. That they're very like it's funny, they just want creativity, which is like really really nice when it comes down to it. Is like, what's the most creative thing you can kind of come up with work. So Zulu was cool. It was great. We met a lot of great people, got to work on a lot of really really great Canadian brands like Tim Hortons and Bell and Interact, which was really really cool. It was a great experience.
It's funny that you mentioned Tim Hortons, because that was one of the projects that you guys did for me when I remember when you were at the college.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I remember that now, actually. We had like I think it was for Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And we did like I don't remember. We filmed some commercial. I don't remember what it was, but we filmed like a Valentine's Day commercial, and we got a donut, and they didn't have it. I mean, I'm sure at some point they did, but we got a donut and carved it into a heart shape, because the donuts were just they're round or whatever, obviously. But for the Valentine's Day thing, we wanted a Valentine's Day donut, so we carved it into a heart shape. And I think it was either Adam or Grappo in the commercial with Nicole Sizik.
Yes.
And
for the three of them.
Yeah, I can't remember for the life of me what the actual commercial was, but we definitely filmed it in a Tim Hortons.
On F-Wing.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it was a quirk commercial, but it was super fun. I remember it too today.
Yeah. That's great. Well, you remember more than I did from that. I do remember we went and shot it in a Tim Hortons, and I'm sure people, the staff and whoever, the patrons were in the Tim Hortons were probably like, what the hell are these kids doing? Running around filming each other, doing whatever. That's super funny.
Well, that's the fun part of being at college.
Oh yeah, that's the thing, is like it's so hands-on. Like, doing stuff at Mohawk was so hands-on, and you're just learning a lot and getting to implement it yourself. And it was really cool. I definitely remember doing all those kinds of things, like photo shoots and just a bunch of photo shoots, and then taking those photos and editing them and putting them in layout and designing them and that sort of thing, which was really, I think, really really nice.
It's great to hear.
Yeah.
So can you tell the work that you remember the most from Zulu?
We did we did a Bell spot for 5 TV. and I think it might be in my portfolio somewhere, but basically the commercial was, it was a couple sitting on a couch, and they're watching 5 TV, and they're talking about how great 5 TV is. And I think we were allowed to use footage from Jurassic World or something like that, which was like, oh, awesome. I love dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. So that's cool. We get to put that on TV. So they're watching 5 TV, and they're saying how great it was. And then at the end of the commercial, we kind of pan out, and there's a real estate agent and a bunch of other people looking at this open house. And she says something like, so do you guys want to see any other like room in the house? And they're like, no, we'll take it. Like we'll take the house. And I think like, obviously just the funny thing about it was, you know, you think they're watching 5 TV in their own home, but they're really watching 5 TV in this house. And obviously that's what sold them on the house, was the 5 TV. So that was a fun little spot we did for Bell.
For Bell.
Yeah.
What do we say? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, we also, when we first started working there, we worked on Tim Hortons Camp Day, which was just a really cool experience, getting to go to BC, and film two kind of really nice spots that really spoke to what the camp was about and who the campers were and what it did for these kids that went to Tim Hortons Camp. And that was kind of like a project we got to work on right out of the gate, as soon as we started at Zulu, which is really, really nice.
That's always a nice stuff to do, the summer camp of Tim Hortons.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go down to Fuse, your current placement right now, your current job. So how was that? You're there for almost 2 years now.
Yeah, I've been here, I guess my LinkedIn says 1 year and 8 months. So I think I started in June in 2019, and it's been really great. I think it's really cool because, like when I was talking about Chael having the kind of the close-knit creative department where there's only 4 or 6 kind of creatives. Mm-hmm. Right now I think there's five creatives, and then in the creative department, and then a CD, and then our ECD, Steve Miller. And it's really cool having that really kind of tight knit group of people that in the creative department that you work with, which is really kind of nice. Also, just the agency vibe is really, really cool. We did a brand kind of redesign. I think at the start of the pandemic, we had this brand redesign, where the name is now Fuse Create, and I think it used to be Fuse Marketing Group.
Okay.
And it's all about turning heads, whether it's in the work you do, or in any other aspect of advertising, it's really cool. It's a really nice kind of sentiment, and I think the agency really lives that, which is awesome. And yeah, it's going well.
How was the whole trip? It's amazing to hear, and I'm super glad to hear about all your experiences, Darren. It's I don't know, it's always great to hear the students who are in the industry, and about this last experience, the current experience that you have.
Yep.
How was the transition from going to the agency to home office because of the pandemic? How was that shift?
Yeah, I mean, at first, I think like everybody, we all kind of thought, okay, well, we'll be here for working from home for a few months, and then, we'll kind of go back into the office. Clearly that is not the case. But it was definitely interesting because you go from interacting face to face with people all the time to literally never doing it. And I know for me, I really thrive on, the work environment of just seeing people every day and walking over to someone's desk and chatting with them about something, or
Mm-hmm.
just like literally looking across the room at my creative director and being like, hey, Steve, do you have a sec just to chat about whatever? And now it's kind of like you shoot them a message and like just wait to see if and when they reply. And I think brainstorming too was a little bit kind of odd right off the hop, where you're kind of just sitting there in your own house, whether you're on Teams, which is just a program through Microsoft, or you're on Zoom and you're brainstorming, like looking at a screen. And I think my partner at the time, Becky, and I, we kind of stopped like having to like look at each other, just because we were getting like screen fatigue. So we would
I
just
see.
turn on the audio, and then just like at the agency we just sit on a couch and chat. We were doing
Mm-hmm.
the same thing, except in two different houses in Toronto. And at first it was like it was a little bit of a weird thing, because again, you're not really seeing everybody every day. You're only talking to people through, it's just like if you're texting them, or if you're talking to them through like, Messenger on Facebook or something like that. But I think now it's kind of like this well-oiled machine where you have this like, I don't, it's not, I wouldn't say like you have this like freedom, but it's more like you know what you have to do, and you're doing your timesheets, and you're checking in with people and doing your work and stuff. But I kind of like being able to like wake up a little bit later and like maybe cook a little more substantial of a breakfast, or cook home, and I'm home kind of earlier. But then if I'm doing like work later in the day or whatever, that's okay too. So it's just a bit of a different experience, but I think it's still really really good, and we're still doing a lot of really great work. And I think we were all kind of wondering at the beginning, like, is the work going to suffer? Like, how is this actually going to work? But it ends up like working out. So it's you kind of adapt and that sort of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what just kind of everyone's done. I know, in my experience, that's what it's been. And I'm gonna assume it's probably like that for a lot of other people working at different agencies. But of course, like, it would be great to be able to go back and actually be in a room with the people you work with and have conversations with people face to face, rather than over Zoom and that sort of thing.
How do you think the industry will shift once all this is over there? And when it comes to work environment,
Yeah,
going.
I mean, this is only a guess, and this is more so like something that maybe I would like. But like, if I actually like really like working from home. Like my girlfriend and I, we live together, and we have an office space, but then we have the living room with the kitchen table. And once like every week, we'll swap like quote office spaces. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll be in the office one week, she'll be in the living room kitchen area, and then we'll switch, and it kind of keeps the variety going. And I think if it's more efficient for people to commute less into work, but you're still getting the work done, you're still getting the FaceTime that you need with your team, if you're still doing that, then like, why not continue doing like a hybrid method of working from home, but also working from an office space when you need to go in for bigger projects or pitches and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot more people are finding it more convenient, and that's my perspective. I know, like, we don't have children, we just have a dog. So I know for people that have children, it's probably absolutely insane having two kids at home while you're trying to do your work, and your significant other is also trying to do work. and if you have a dog at home too, and that can get to be a lot,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. But for me personally, I think if there is a hybrid in the future, you know, when we all can go back to work again, I think I would really like that personally.
Yeah, I feel too that the best option would be between the two, uh,
Yeah,
between the remote, because I think in the past they had already people who are doing the remote job and work at home from one day and that kind of stuff. But I think now they can have the proof what works, what doesn't work when it comes to working away. So I think now it's something that will come here to stay anyway
yeah,
because everybody was
yeah.
forced to do it.
And I think it depends on the person too, you know, like I know, you know, there's some people who, again, like thrive on the like face-to-face interaction every day, all the time with people that you work with. They like the hustle and bustle of like, you know, just an open concept workspace, and that sort of thing. And like, I really like that too, but I think now that we've been kind of shown this new way of working, I think it's definitely moving forward probably like a really cool thing to do a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like again, like commuting, it takes me 45 minutes to on TTC to get from my place to the office, and I mean that's an hour and a half a day. And if that isn't there, then that's an hour and a half of my day that I get to spend either like, you know, doing work here and there in the morning or at night, or also getting to go on like a walk or getting to actually cook like a really good dinner when I might not have had time to in the past, or that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, we will see what the future holds.
Yeah, it's amazing now there that because of that and the way we're teaching everything remote at the college right now, that I think some of the classes work very well on that format.
Yep.
Some of the classes not so much.
Yep.
But at the same time, I think it will be important to have at least one or two classes that are entirely remote, because I think also train the students to do that kind of a work environment from far away, to get that kind of a meetings from far away, presentations online, all that kind of a remote work need to be mandatory to everybody
Yeah.
from
No,
now on.
yeah, you're totally right, because again, like I think the industry, and again, this is just my opinion, but I think the industry will probably shift that way, where you will have stuff that you have to be in the office for, like when you're doing pitches and bigger projects and that sort of thing. You know, and then when you're not, you have to be like accountable for the work you're doing, you know, throughout the other rest of the time. And I think for students to learn that early on, like you know, when you guys are teaching and stuff at Mohawk, I think that'd be a great idea.
Well, let's get through the final part of our conversation now, Darren.
Sure.
And I have a few questions for you on that front.
Sure.
First of all, for the students who are uncertain if they're going to do production or design or being art direction or being a writer, what do you think? What will, or afraid to choose the path of a copywriter, who don't think they're, oh, I don't know I have it, or I don't know I can write that well to be a copywriter. What kind of words you have for them?
I think, you know, there's always uncertainty in your mind, you know, where you're like, oh man, like I don't know if I could do this. Like even you know, throughout the last like 8.5 years that I've been working, like there's been projects where I'm just like, oh man, this is this is a big deal. This is pretty crazy. Like, you know, like will I be able to you know, write something as compelling as it should be for this project, or you know, will I be able to kind of really deliver on the work that's expected. And I think like one thing that I've always and I've come to kind of learn this about myself is I always trust that I can and that I will. Like anytime I get intimidated by a brief or a project or that sort of thing, in the back of my mind, I'm always like, well, you know what? You've done it for 8.5 years so far. And, time and time again, you've been able to really own the work and get down to it and come up with, great ideas and that sort of thing. So whatever this next project is, have faith in yourself that you will be able to do it again. And that's kind of just what I kind of say to myself every time, and I think that's how students have to look at it, is just thinking that they can do something, thinking that, they're going to learn a lot on the way. But they're also going to, if they have the drive, they will kind of succeed. Yeah.
My next question, Darren, is what is your fondest memory at Mohawk that you
fondest memory at Mohawk? I mean, the Wednesday night pub nights were always fun. No, I'm kidding. I think I touched on this before, but I think like it isn't necessarily one specific memory, but the group of friends that I met at Mohawk, and I still talk to them all here and there, some of them more than others, but I think having a really good group of friends that you're all working on the same project, you're all kind of in it together. There's a lot of camaraderie and teamwork and stuff that you end up doing. I think that's kind of like the stuff that stuck out to me. When we would be in like doing kind of random drama classes, or we'd be in Nancy's class where we have to get up and read our radio scripts or that sort of thing. And just kind of knowing that everyone else is doing that too, and everyone else is having like a fun time kind of doing it. I think that's kind of like what really sticks in my memory about Mohawk is just having all those friends and doing it all together. And knowing that you're kind of doing like a really fun kind of thing, advertising, but then also like getting like graded on it, which is like, who can grade fun? You know what I mean? So that's, and I think that translates into like the working experience, like right now, where we get to do really, really cool, fun stuff in our job, and getting to produce that for, your creative directors and your agency and your clients and stuff. Again, you're working on stuff with a lot of great people and your team. And I think that is no different from working on that kind of stuff at Mohawk. So it translates. And I think I would say like, that is kind of my greatest memory from Mohawk.
Well, I think it creates a kind of a, that you need the kind of a mindset and that connection with people to make great campaigns or great work.
Yep. Yeah. I think you definitely all have to be kind of on the same page and all want the same kind of end goal, and all be, kind of like-minded and that sort of thing, and all want, the best for whatever project you are working on. Which again, like I was saying, it was like that in school, and it's like that, throughout your agency life too, which is great.
Talking about agency life, next year, Darren, is 2022 next year, and you'll be a decade old advertising under your belt on experience, 10 years experience.
Yep.
So based on 10-year experience, you're going to 9 now. How many mistakes you see? Because probably you had a lot of people contacting you guys to, can you take a look at my book? Can we grab a coffee? Can you see my portfolio? What kind of the main mistakes that students do when they're showing work? Or what the kind of work and the way you show the work? Tell me about that. What to avoid?
Yeah, it's funny. I was at portfolio night couple months ago, a month ago. I don't really remember when. It was fairly recently. And some of the most common things I saw were just not related to work, but just spelling mistakes. And, like, it was just funny, like seeing a spelling mistake. And I'm sure in my student book I probably had my fair share. I don't specifically remember being called out for any of that, but like I think as something as small as a spelling mistake really shows your attention to detail, and that's something you need for sure when working in advertising is a great attention to detail, especially if you're a copywriter, in the writing sense of spelling mistakes. You know, like, and I think, I think they just happen because you're, especially as a student, you're probably working another job, you're in school, you're doing the work, at 1 or 2 in the morning, just because time and that sort of thing. And, but I think like that comes down to like time management and stuff. But it's really like, yeah, there's sometimes spelling mistakes is kind of the most common thing I see in a portfolio. So it's really just, like if you're living at home as a student, like get your mom or dad to read it over, or your brother or sister or something, or show another classmate and be like, hey, just look for anything that sticks out to you that's, weird or, incorrect, or if there is a spelling mistake or whatever.
Or at least spell check at Microsoft Word.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're putting something into layout, always take that copy and throw it into a Word doc just to see if all the words are spelled correctly. Because I know in like, InDesign, like I know Keynote will give you, that's more for presentations anyways, but I know for layouts and stuff in InDesign or Photoshop or Illustrator, they don't, if I remember correctly.
A few of them have now.
Yeah. Okay.
A few of them, yes.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, it's
you use, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Back in my day. No, I don't really ever use InDesign anymore for layouts, being a writer. So, but yeah, it was kind of spelling mistakes. So yeah, watch those spelling mistakes.
What else you can say? About the creative work itself or the way it's presented?
I think, so it's hard because I remember when I was a student being like just super nervous of like, getting that person to look at my work, and, what do I say to them? Do I just like, pass my book over the table? Because when I was doing it, we didn't have really tablets or laptops generally that we showed like a physical book. But, do I just pass it over and say, what do you think? Or, I mean, with me, I think sometimes I see an over explanation of the brand or the product before I get to even look at the ad. And really, you should be able to just look at the ad and kind of tell what the product is, what the messaging is, what they're trying to do or say, rather than have like a big explanation and the insight and that sort of thing. And I think like, talking about the insight is great, but I think your work should kind of speak for itself, and you shouldn't need to like over explain everything in your book. Someone should be able to see something and, read it or watch it and kind of understand the insight and understand, the message you're trying to convey. So, and the thing is too, is in like, if you only have a half hour of someone's time and you're really explaining a lot of stuff as opposed to just seeing the work, getting to look at the work itself, then I think that takes up a lot of time that could have been a little more useful for maybe some constructive criticism on the pieces in the book itself. Yeah.
Which are the elements on a book that really attract you to say, oh my God, I want to work with that person. I want that person on our team.
For me, I look for So I still really like design and layout and that sort of thing. So if you're a writer, I'll kind of put that in the back and look at the idea itself. Even for an art director, I'll look at the idea itself to see if, you know, it's sound or the insight is really kind of nice. But I really love, and again, being a writer, I really love like a really nice, succinct kind of clever headline. You know, and now that doesn't obviously have to be on a print piece or a billboard. It could be on like packaging design, or it can be, you know, through like a social post or something like that, or, you know, wherever really. So I think that's, for me, again, like seeing a really nice headline is really nice all the, you know, when I'm looking at work. And then when it comes to like art directors and stuff, like if they want to be an art director, you know, like I'll really look at like, you know, what were they doing when they came up with this kind of layout? Like, you know, what's the kerning kind of like on some of the words? And I know, like, you know, that stuff you learn and pick up down the road. But, you know, how good are their Photoshop skills? Or if the idea is really good, but their Photoshop skills maybe aren't the best, that's obviously something, you know, you'll learn. So it's hard. I think it's different for every student when looking at their work. Yeah, I don't know. It always also interests me. Like, I'm always kind of asking, like, you know, because I know in school you work on projects with a number of different people. So sometimes you'll get work that had 5 different people touching it, and it's in a student's book. And it's kind of like, okay, like, you know, what did you do on the project? You know, and is it like, did they make the logo? Did they come up with the idea with the other group, or did they do most of the design stuff, or did them and another writer write some of the copy or the lines? You know, so I think finding that kind of stuff out, if something's in your book, definitely, you know, have an answer of like what you personally brought to the project. And if it was just like designing the logo, then like, you know, be upfront with that. You know, so I think that's another thing too.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear because a lot of them forget to give proper credits
Yeah.
to other people. And I think teamwork is a quality that a lot of people oversee when it comes to
definitely
share the success of a.
and that's the thing too, is like in the agency world, like it really is like a huge team effort from, you know, the account people, strategy, you know, if you have in-house media people like working on the stuff, like everyone, and obviously, you know, your partner and your creative director and that sort of thing, but really everyone putting in the you know, their kind of own background into the project and giving their kind of POV and helping you see things from different perspectives. It really is like a team effort. You know, so yeah, you're right.
Last question before the final remarks.
Sure.
What do you suggest to the students to do? Try to get an internship as a team, or try to get internship solo?
I think so. It depends. I mean, it's like that with the everyday like in like working in advertising, where some creative directors or some agencies are looking for teams and like, you know, already kind of prepackaged, ready to go. And some are looking for, you know, just a single writer or art director to join a previously existing, you know, writer or art director, or a team. You know, it depends. And I think it depends on the agency, because, you know, currently where I'm at, I came here as a single writer and and I work on projects with everybody. So sometimes I'm working on stuff with a designer. Sometimes I'm working on pitches with another writer, or projects with another writer. Sometimes I'm working with one art director. Sometimes it'll be with another art director.
And how you're feeling that change?
I really like it. I think it keeps the work really, like, how do I say it? Just really fresh, really interesting, really different, because everyone brings a different perspective, to the work itself. So it's really interesting. And when I was at KBS, we did kind of the same thing. Another writer, Warren, and I, or another writer, Steffi, and I would work on Sleep Country Canada radio campaigns, and it would be two writers just coming up with the different kind of campaigns and different work, and different spots, and then we'd split it in half and say, okay, you write 2 spots for these 2 campaigns, I'll write 2 spots for these 2 campaigns, and then we have kind of different work, and also too, working on stuff with the same partner for a number of years is also great, because you really get to know that person. You have kind of a flow that you get into, so I think it's just what you want as a creative, and the thing is too, is if you're going to interviews, as a single writer or single art director, if the creative director or agency really likes your work, then they'll hire you on, and they'll find you, and you'll help find another writer or art director that will help, that will kind of bring as much enthusiasm to a project that you might have. So yeah, I think either one works. If you're more comfortable with going with another writer or art director applying, then go for it. But if you're okay going by yourself, then there's no harm in that either, because you'll just get a bit of a different experience, which is always great too.
Well, Darren, thank you so much for all your words. And I want you to leave, if you want to leave your contact information for the students, or where they can find your portfolio, or how to contact you to talk. And I will leave the word with you, and any other final words on that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to contact me, just find me through LinkedIn. Just search Darren Marranca. And you can for sure look at my book. It's just my first name and last name.com. And any, words of advice or kind of, final thoughts. I think, like, when I was when I was a student, trying to get an internship, the one thing that I just did a lot was really just contact a lot of people, and try to meet with them and try to get their perspective on your book, and also just see what it's like for them from their perspective in the advertising industry. So whether that's like shooting LinkedIn messages, or somehow however you find their Gmail or whatever it is, I think it's good just to contact people and add them and ask as many questions as possible. Don't be afraid to do that, because I know a lot of people in this industry really like just kind of talking to students too, and telling them their perspective about advertising.
That's great. Oh, Darren, thanks so much. Can't tell how happy I am to talk to you and see you again here. You just hear the audio, but at the same time we are talking and chatting on Zoom.
Yeah.
It's much better to see you face to face, to have that kind of conversation. I really appreciate that, and I ask everybody, the students, to don't forget to follow us. We are on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and YouTube. So you can subscribe on any of those channels as podcasts. So Rafscast ends here. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.